All right, today is Tuesday, April 28th, around 2 o'clock p.m. Just spent the last 4 hours doing my April essay. And because I'm not doing any songwriting right now or doing any of these, what I term therapy sessions, I figured I'd practice my dictation skills. And as I wanted to do an audiobook 2 years ago, and I still think about doing it, but I know I'm not ready to do it yet. I just don't really have a lot of confidence in my speaking voice or my singing voice, but I'm trying to work on it. And I figured because I just wrote this and it's one of the more comical, well, my plan was last year I did 12 poems that I did once a month based on a song. And then I put a book together with all these monthly poems, which were really written in a very stream of consciousness approach. I didn't put a lot of thought or editing into it. And then I put that as a collection of 12 poems, free verse 20 to 25. I made a book on Amazon with all that stuff. And I figured I'd do something different this year. So every month I'm trying to really write in a more prose or whatever you want to call it, in a more essay type of experience instead of poetry. Sometimes I feel like poetry can put me in a lazy type of atmosphere. Like, you can just pretend to be this, pretend to be happy, depressed, angry, and put these words together to get your feelings out. Sometimes it feels kind of fake, and because I feel like emotions are usually bullshit inspired anyway. So this is my April essay. It's called Stroszek with the Cool Hand. I was too lazy to rewatch these movies. Stroszek was a movie I watched. It's a Werner Herzog. Hopefully I'm saying his name correctly. It's a great movie. I had to buy it off of Amazon and add it to my collection because I really liked it. It's a weird movie, 1977, yeah. But it just really blew me away when I watched it. Just the directing, the cinematography of it, the story is so weird. It's like a Dostoevsky type of experience. Not that I'm a fucking expert in that either, but it's worth a watch if you've never watched Stroszek. It's pretty funny in a dark, comedic way. So that's the one movie that this is based on, this essay that I wrote today. And the other one's Cool Hand Luke, which is probably more popular. Paul Newman. And the guy, I looked this up earlier. Hold on one second. Cool Hand Luke cast. Cool Hand Luke cast. There's a guy named George Kennedy. And I always thought when I watched that, we watched this movie in high school. One of my teachers showed us this movie. I think in history class. I could be wrong. Maybe it was English class. We watched Cool Hand Luke and we did like an analysis of it, and it was all about the Messiah type of experience that the character of Cool Hand Luke portrayed. It was like this weird nihilistic type of Messiah figure, and there's so much symbolism. Like one of the ending scenes when Cool Hand Luke dies, it's like that famous pose where the Virgin Mary's holding Jesus, whatever that statue's called. It's kind of framed in the same way to depict that for some reason, because Cool Hand Luke was like a Christ figure type of Messiah complex. And I need to rewatch it again with these thoughts in mind because I'll probably realize things now that I didn't realize in high school. That's how it goes as you rewatch movies throughout your life. I only watched Stroszek twice, and I was planning to watch it again, but like I said, I was just too lazy. With ADD at the moment, I didn't feel like watching it. But I figured I would at least do this short talk and read my essay aloud for people who can't read, blind people and other people who can't read with learning disabilities. I should be reading these out loud to suit those people. And it's just good practice for me to do this because I do plan to do an audiobook. I just don't feel confident at the moment to really approach it because I'm trying to move out west. I'm trying to get a job, and then I could really um, get down to an obsessive state more than I am now about doing this stuff. And that's where I'm at. I applied to like 100 barista jobs throughout the Southwest, Phoenix, Las Vegas, California. So hopefully something comes up. I don't see why, I shouldn't be out west pretty soon. So let me read this. If you've never watched these movies, you could still kind of get the comedy of this, hopefully. Maybe it makes you laugh or gives you a weird perspective of where my mind's at right now. But go watch those movies. If you've never seen Cool Hand Luke, definitely watch that. That's one of the classics. I'm sure like Siskel and Ebert put it on their best movies of all time. It is a classic. It really is. There's the Guns N' Roses song. They kind of sampled that in Civil War. What we have is a failure to communicate. That's from Cool Hand Luke. So many great characters in that movie, man. And yeah, it's a well done, just perfect movie, I think. I just need to watch it again because it's been a long time since I've watched it. So let me read this. It's not that long. Hopefully I get through this. I've read it a couple times, but I just wrote this over the last 3-4 hours. I wasn't even going to do this essay because I was very unmotivated. And then I woke up today and I was like, I listened to some Fela Kuti. And while I was doing that, I was like, all right, let me force myself to get these stupid words out. And because I didn't watch either of these movies again, it is kind of a juvenile attempt of, I wouldn't even call this an analysis of the movie or the characters, but it is what it is. This is what I came up with, so here it goes. If you've never seen Cool Hand Luke or Stroszek, you might not fully understand some of the references below. But to be honest, I really don't think it matters all that much, as I didn't even feel like writing this month's essay or rewatching those classic films. So my absurd notions will likely fit within anyone's twisted context. So, I would suggest turning your brain off and enjoying my nonsense without trying to decipher how this relates to two of the greatest characters in the history of cinema. If Stroszek and Cool Hand made a buddy cop movie together, I hope it takes place in the remote blah of Canada. So they have to wear those weird Mountie uniforms and try to fake Canadian accents while hunting down maple syrup mafias and anti-hockey terrorists. By the third act, Cool Hand and Stroszek will learn about the true spirit of Canada, basically defined as killing others with an uniquely arrogant brand of kindness, which might come off as phony, but is still likely better than the arrogance for arrogance's sake attitude that would have been depicted if the movie took place in New Jersey. If Stroszek and Cool Hand got gay married, Cool Hand would likely wear the pants and bring home the bacon by smashing parking meters in random small towns across America. Stroszek, therefore, would likely stay at home and get drunk off stale, piss-infused beer and prepare dinner each evening consisting of hard-boiled eggs marinated in more of that stale piss beer. They would happily survive like this for many years until both of their hearts spontaneously combust from that ridiculous nightly egg intake. If Stroszek and Cool Hand formed a band, it would likely feature a comatose blending of Joy Division and Devo, two musical acts that I have very little knowledge of, but it seems to fit both of their styles for some odd reason. Their hit singles would be pretentiously titled The Birth of the Straw Man and Propaganda Without the Style Points, and they would successfully tour the world, depressing most of their crowds with guilt trips about oil wars, reality television, and those pesky demonic pharmaceutical ads. They would eventually sell out, though, and sadly lose their most dedicated, morose fan base when their song "We're all a bunch of stagnant, suicidal tourists on a floating rock of madness" is used on a big pharma advert about seasonal affective disorder. If Stroszek and Cool Hand got in a bar fight, they would both get knocked out in a matter of seconds. Stroszek would always be down for the count, while he tries to compose some shitty music in his unconscious state that would never be heard by anyone. But Cool Hand would often get back up and at least show some guts, only to be repeatedly cracked in the jaw over and over again because he is a bit of a stoic, faithless masochist. "Where is your plastic Jesus now, bitch?" would be the most common phrase spat as random meatheads lovingly pound his salad-dressed logo of a face. If Stroszek and Cool Hand were car salesmen, Stroszek would forget how to start each vehicle during test drives and then resort to venting his frustrations by slamming his forehead against the steering wheel until the airbag deployed, which is when Cool Hand would save the day by explaining that Stroszek's mental breakdown was all an act to demonstrate the stellar safety features. Eventually, both men would decide to change career paths and become crash test dummies in the hopes that one of the shittier engineered cars fails every safety protocol and finally ends their collective misery. If Stroszek and Cool Hand were political talking heads on cable news, they would go against the grain and actually tell the truth about how fucked the global corporate agenda has become in these technocratically dystopian times of rampant dehumanization. Unlike other pedantic loudmouths like Beck, Limbaugh, and Alec Jones, they would jointly leverage a completely nihilistic approach towards the greed and bloodlust of the greater tribal obsessed human condition, and end each airing by playing Russian roulette with each other as the end by the Doors plays. If Stroszek and Cool Hand were involved in a good old neighborhood orgy, Stroszek would likely sob after each and every fake orgasm delivered. And Cool Hand would somehow involve hard-boiled eggs once again in some weird symbolic ritual regarding fertility. He would thusly never be invited back to any future sexual proceedings of the group nature due to his absurd egg breath. But Stroszek, much on the cooler hand this time, would soon enter into the porn industry and become the greatest cuck of all time. If Stroszek and Cool Hand ran a marathon together, Stroszek would pass out by mile 1. Awake an hour later, find an old haunted mandolin in a nearby dumpster, get blessed by an old gypsy witch, construct a cardboard house in a disgusting alleyway full of fentanyl-filled tent people, and become a pathetic busker for the next 4 decades, surviving off rainwater and sun-baked dog shit. Cool Hand, full of his usual fuck it all, none of this matters, early onset dementia but weirdly zen worldview, would break all previous marathon records, but get mauled at the finish by a giant mutant chicken from the future, sent back in time to protest the evils of factory farming. If Stroszek and Cool Hand practiced animal husbandry, Stroszek would raise chickens that play tic-tac-toe while foreshadowing suicide, and also shit out hard-boiled eggs, primarily to assuage Cool Hand's dangerously perverse embryonic addiction. I believe it's time for me to apologize for taking the easy way out and overusing this cool-handed, hard-boiled egg trope. But I didn't feel like rewatching the fucking movie, like I already mentioned. So references to Messiah complexes or the prison industrial complex inevitably took a back seat to the cinematic thrills of an off-putting, egg-eating prison wager between the guy who later taught Tom Cruise how to dominate pool halls and the jolly dude who I always thought played the skipper on Gilligan's Island. If Stroszek and Cool Hand Luke collectively managed a professional baseball team, they would only sign players under 4 feet tall, utilizing the every little person walks technique developed from the Bad News Bears, the good version from 1976. They would then go on to win 27 World Series in a row, becoming a part of the greatest sports dynasty of all time, while also demonstrating that size doesn't matter when it comes to America's pastime or more intrinsic matters of the nationalized vagina. Yeah, that's what I got. Hopefully some of these are funny to somebody. I thought it would be cool to read this out loud this month. I haven't done this for any of my other essays. Maybe I should go back and do it. But I figured this one was so stupid and ridiculous. Even if it did take me about 3 hours to write this and to think of some of these concepts and everything involved in this. It was more of a poetic free verse than the other ones. The first one I tried to analyze the show Roseanne and the nostalgia it gives me. And then I don't even remember the other ones at this point. But yeah, this is my monthly essay that I just kept procrastinating and procrastinating. Maybe I'll watch the movies now that I don't have the pressure my pressure because I'm making so much money doing this. The pressure of actually doing this essay anymore since I already did it. But these are two of the greatest characters in movie history, I think. And it would be cool to have these two characters in the same universe somehow. But I feel like Family Guy would probably do a Cool Hand Luke, like one of those flashback things that they always do. And people would understand the joke. Cool Hand Luke is pretty relevant, even, well, to my generation. I'm in my 40s. I don't know if kids would know Cool Hand Luke. They probably never really heard of that movie. I didn't hear about it until I was in high school when, like I said, one of my teachers actually showed it to us to analyze it. I went to a Catholic school and we got weird analyses of movies like Cool Hand Luke, Hamlet, which is probably kind of Hamlet, I believe, would be showed in any kind of English class. That's kind of popular. And also The Wizard of Oz, about the gold standard, the Federal Reserve, and all that symbolism. I remember learning about that. That's when The Wizard of Oz really became like my favorite movie of all time, almost. Once I learned all the other weird symbolic elements, how it was made, about that, how we got taken off the gold standard and all that shit, it became a weird, a way more trippier movie than just witches and little people. So yeah, I guess I got to thank my high school English teacher for that, for kind of explaining all this stuff. Because, as a teenager, you watch The Wizard of Oz, you're just like, oh, it's a stupid fantasy movie. Like, whatever the fuck, the Smurfs or whatever the hell you're watching as a kid. You don't understand politics and all the metaphors and symbolic. The Tin Man represents this, and the Scarecrow represents the working man or whatever the hell. The lion is a parody of a newspaper mogul. Is it William Randolph Hearst? Is that his name? I guess that's like a Rupert Murdoch of today. Or Rupert Murdoch is the mogul of today, or he used to be. I don't even know if he does that shit anymore. So it's kind of cool to dissect movies like that as you get older. And I will definitely notice different things if I rewatch Cool Hand Luke today, or even Stroszek, because I only watched that twice. I was going to get into Werner Herzog. It's probably around last summer or last spring when I first watched it, and I got really into maybe a few of his other movies, and then probably around the same time I watched that Strangers in Paradise movie. I was just trying to get more in touch with underground cinema, even though these aren't really that underground. Like, just like with music, I I make my end of the year list, and I think I'm going outside the box and finding music that's nobody really heard of. But then I'll read like Thurston Moore's favorite albums of the year, and I'm like, I haven't heard of any of these fucking bands. And then I make a list of like hundreds of albums that I should listen to, but I never listen to them. That's kind of my weird process. But maybe it's because I like finding things on my own path and not being, oh, Thurston Moore likes this, so it must be good, and then I'll be biased because, oh, I'm not cool if I don't like it because Thurston Moore's cool. If I don't like what he thinks is cool, I must be stupid. So you get kind of biased like that. Or Anthony, what's his name, Fantano, the needle drop. I watch his stuff. I like his videos. But if you watch his stuff, then you're going to get biased based on his review. Because, you know, he's the biggest nerd of music and he knows everything, man. So it's weird. Sometimes I'll agree with his stuff. Sometimes I really have to fight to not get swayed by more knowledgeable people. But then again, Siskel and Ebert, like, they shit all over Vincent Gallo and Buffalo 66. For some reason, there was a rivalry there. I think Vincent Gallo and Ebert, I guess, they kind of hated each other. I don't know. But that's like my favorite movie, so I don't think at this point in my life, or even in my 20s or 30s, as you do develop more of an opinion on art, I don't think the critics really factor in that much anymore. But I don't want to be seen as a pretentious type of follower. Like, I just like what other people like and stuff like that. I don't know why am I talking about this, because I don't know if Stroszek is a universally acclaimed movie. I think it's a brilliant movie, man, of the immigrant experience and the satire kind of approach it takes. It's really cool. I need to watch it again. It did blow me away the first time I saw it because I just like all this, the cinematography and the way they portrayed some of the scenes was just really genius. I loved it. But I'll have to watch it again. Hopefully I still like it. And I guess I'll cut it here. Maybe I'll start doing this more, practicing my reciting stuff, my speaking voice that I don't really like. I think it's just breath control, whether I'm singing or trying to rap or recite lyrics or something like this. Like I just did now, I had to take a deep breath. Like, I don't do that enough. I kind of just go until I run out of breath, and then then I'm like gasping for air. Like, it's weird. I don't know. Maybe I need to research this or take a class on how to be a voice actor, because there's money in that if you're good at it. Like the dude who does the movie previews. Coming this summer to a theater near you. That dude was awesome. Or the Micro Machines guy. That dude was the best. Micro Machines. I had a friend whose dad reminded me of the Micro Machines guy. He always cracked me up. But yeah, I'm going to have to practice more of doing stuff like this. I feel comfortable when I'm just talking off the top of my head like I'm doing right now. But when I have to read something, like I just did, if Stroszek and Cool Hand made a buddy cop movie together, I hope it takes place in the remote blah of Canada. Like, I don't know what my natural voice is when I'm reading something, so maybe I need to listen to other audiobooks and listen to how other people do it, because they're actually professional and people pay them to read their own books. But I even thought about getting another person to read my anthology book for me, because I just had no confidence in myself. But I don't think it's good to have other people do it, or artificial intelligence voice, because that book is all my lyrics and stuff, and it's like all personal stuff to me. If I'm not the one reading it, like, it's not going to have the same effect. That's what I think. I think people will look down on my artistic worth. Like, oh, he can't even read his own shit. He thinks he's an artist or a writer. Like, yeah, I feel like that's a valid criticism that I would even make on someone. Like if, I don't know, Roger Waters or David Gilmour or I don't know, anyone famous had an audiobook, Elton John, and they paid somebody else to read their stuff. Like I know a lot of people do it. I don't know if Springsteen did his own because his biography was really good. I'm actually not sure, but I think there is an audio version of it. I forget what it's called. But yeah, you know what I'm saying. I think it's cooler if the actual person who wrote the words actually develops the audiobook as well. And it's very hard. I've heard other people talk about it on podcasts where they say it takes months and months and months, depending on how long the book is and how good you can become at it with practice. And that's where I'm at. That's why I did this. I figured it would be a good accompaniment to this month's essay because it is so stupid. And I wanted to explain what the concept was because if people don't know Stroszek or Cool Hand Luke, they probably would be like, what the fuck is this? They might still find it humorous and just make up their own characters, excuse me, in their head. But if you don't, like I'm picturing Stroszek and Cool Hand Luke hanging out together when I was writing all these stupid hypotheticals. And I just thought it was funny based on their personalities or their characterizations in the films. Stroszek is like the struggling artist. That's probably why I connected to that movie. The struggling weakling artist who's probably really good at, not to say that I'm like a brilliant artist or anything, but I've at least put the time in to really develop a unique type of voice, I think at least. I don't know what other people think because I don't get feedback from anybody. So it's hard to really judge those things like that. But that's not why that's not why I started my Substack or continue to do it, even if I have no followers or anything. Yesterday, I had to ban myself from Instagram again. I got off of Instagram for 2 weeks and then I went back on Saturday and I was like, let me see. And Instagram just became weird again, where you have to like, well, I was getting like nothing but videos on my feed, so it was just like TikTok. So I had to unfollow a bunch of people that just had videos whether they were cool or not. And you get half naked people. And I was like, that's cool. There's still people who follow me. Maybe these half naked people will like my art. So I would just follow everybody. I wasn't like masturbating to these people. Like, yeah, so I was like unfollowing a lot of the people who don't even put art on there and just show their boobs and whatever. Because Instagram does become like a form of pornography. It's very weird, the mind games it kind of plays. When I first started, it was the best because I was only following like a handful of people who put their artwork, just pictures of their artwork, and that's what I liked it for. I don't want to know what the artists look like, if they're attractive, if they're whatever. I don't care about that shit. Like, it becomes a part of it because it's in your face, but like I just want to know if the art's cool or not. That's the only reason I started Instagram was to share the visual art side of my brain, and I have like 165 of my doodles on there right now. Album covers, doodles, just random stuff. Um, uh, Besides putting it on the Substack, I wanted to put it on Instagram because it looks kind of cooler to look at art like that. So it's good and bad. I decided to not go on Instagram again for another 2 weeks because it's such a waste of time. It's not even addicting at this point. All I did yesterday was like unfollow people because now I'm following like over 2,000 people and it's like shit. It just gets really weird. Half the people probably aren't even real. They're just robots or artificial intelligence designed these whatever. And it just gets really neurotic and stupid. It's stupid for anyone to get obsessed over social media. Like, I just want to try to make this business financially viable, which I have to rely on stuff like that because I don't know what else to do to market myself. I don't have millions of dollars to hire influencers and pay off corporate plants to promote something and be in magazines and designs and whatever the fuck else people do to get popular. And I'm not obviously not a touring musician or anything. So how are people going to understand my vision and what I'm going for with my art? I have to use digital DIY means, whether they get me a following or not. I just have to keep going and going until I finally strike gold somehow. And that's what I'm doing. That's why I did this today. That's why I keep doing similar art projects. But at the moment, yeah, I said I would take a break from songwriting and try to write my book and do other things. So that's where I'm at right now. I haven't really worked on my book. It's kind of hard to do right now, but maybe in the future, in the near future, I could start doing that. And yeah, in terms of visual arts, I'm not feeling very inspired to do anything new. I think what I need to do again is find a place to go to and take a couple hundreds of photos of nature or something else. Because I feel like that's how my creative process gets started. I'll just have a picture of anything and then it's something to at least base the geometry of what I want to do as I draw over the photograph or use programs. Well, I do use artificial intelligence in that degree to manipulate the photos to something more interesting. And then I could go from there as a basis for creating a doodle or some art. Like the simple doodle that I put on this post, there's stuff like that is what I'm kind of interested in. Something probably took me only 10, 20 minutes to do. But yeah, I guess I'm more of on the animation side or illustrator more than a painter. I call myself a doodler. That's basically an illustrator, I guess. Just doodling random shit. I like to draw beak people. Bird people, like Rick and Morty, bird person. I like to draw beak people and weird shit like that. And just weird, I don't know, like cavemen symbols and stuff like that. That's where I usually go when I detail stuff. But yeah, so that's where my brain's at right now on the artistic side of stuff. I said the only difference is what I've been doing the last month or so. I wrote three new albums, like a song a day, based on different influences, whether Dead Kennedys, Carole King, or the last one was Jack White. And the difference is, if my Kickstarter would have actually happened, and I said this, it's the Bernie Sanders approach, where I'm not going to get a board of investors like Shark Tank to invest in me or a bank to invest in my business because I'm not creating a product to sell to people. I'm making art, which is still profitable if you get acknowledged by a fan base. It can be very profitable, but it's different than a brick and mortar business where you're actually producing something on a mass scale that people are going to purchase. I'm not making umbrellas or whatever the fuck, pencil erasers or soda, whatever. I'm a new type of energy drink that you could go on Shark Tank with. I can't go on Shark Tank with, hey, I did this on Substack for the last 6 years. I got screenplays. I want to start a publishing company. They're not going to view me as a legitimate artist or CEO of the company I'm trying to build. So what I need is small time grassroots. I said this a year ago when I did my Kickstarter. I need like 30,000 people to give me $17. And if I did that through the books I have or whatever the hell else, if I was able to get 30,000 people to give me $17, that gives me the money to start what I really want to do, go to the desert in New Mexico or Arizona or Nevada or California wherever I end up going that makes sense to me, and to build my shipping container home studio. And instead of just doing this, I could actually make music, record loud music away from people so I'm not bothering people, and learn how to do that. That's my life. So that's how I view it. I need 30,000 people to give me like $15 to $17. That gives me enough money to comfortably do this project without getting a day job until maybe sometime in the future when the money runs out. And I'm fine with getting a day job, but ideally, you want to have this as your life, as your job, as your career. You want to have this as a way to meet people, network yourself with other knowledgeable people in the industry that know how to build a DIY enterprise from the ground up like that. It's not easy to do that because there's millions of people trying to do this. The main frustration I had was that the screenplays I wrote, I feel are very good and very valuable to a large demographic. The series I created and the 3 features I made, and I got literally dozens more that I want to write. I don't get ideas for screenplays as often, but once in a while I get really good ideas. But I just can't take the time to flesh out a screenplay when you're not getting paid for it. I just can't justify that to myself. I can justify this type of stuff because it's not going to take me a month to write this essay. It's not going to take me a month to design the artwork or make this recording. When I go to write a screenplay, yeah, it's going to take me a month or longer to really edit it and view it in my head and get all the kinks out. It's just a very manic process that's very satisfying, but not it's satisfying when you're done and you create something, whatever you create, whether you're an engineer, architect, you create something. When you actually successfully do it, it's very satisfying. But if you're not getting paid, all that shit goes out the window because you can't survive. So I'm not going to write any screenplays until I can actually make it a viable financial use of my time and energy, because it's very hard to write a screenplay that is solid and that can be feasible and can be affordable. That's what I'm always trying to put in there to make it as simple. Sometimes I go a little overboard and I need like special effects or CGI stuff. But, that's just a part of the story I'm trying to create. It's a reason why I go towards animation a lot, because I feel like animation might be less expensive, but I'm really not sure about that either. Depending on your budget, I don't know what an animated film in terms of finances would really entail, because it's a large group of people that are involved with stuff like that, computer graphics and stuff. Like, last night I was watching Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I'll close on this because I feel like I've been talking for half an hour now. Yeah, 40 minutes. I was watching Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where Dennis and Mac become EMT drivers. And it's one of the best episodes. Like, I forgot how good that episode just flows. Like a really crazy experiment. I don't know what it is about it. I don't know. It's such a weird to turn an ambulance into a food truck is such a genius concept. I love that. But anyway, there's a scene at the end where they crash the ambulance and it explodes. And I guess it's CGI, but even a show like Always Sunny in Philadelphia, like with a limited budget, they probably have somewhat of a good budget because they've been around for 17 seasons or whatever. But I don't think they would have a real explosion, right? Like, it's probably CGI. But I couldn't even tell. Like, I was like, is that real? Did they really? How did they do that? So, yeah, I guess all that stuff is learned when you're in the industry, because I have no idea, no concept of what something like that costs. Or one time they used the Doors song which is what I put in my essay, the end. I think they used that during that episode where Dennis gets the hippie chick back to his apartment. They play a Doors song, and I think it cost a ridiculous amount of money to play it, but they decided, fuck it, let's just use it. Whatever tens of thousands of dollars it cost, like I guess it was still worth it. So you have to put all that stuff into consideration. But when I write a screenplay, I put it how I want to see it in my head for most of it, 90% of it. And then, of course, if a company would buy it, I'm sure they'd be like, we can't do that. That's too much. We can't do that. And you just go with the flow. You have to edit stuff out. This has too many obscenities. You use like 70 F words. You have to make it only 10. And I'd edit it. Like, it's not a big deal. But the first version that I put out, it's not a first draft because every one of the screenplays I wrote went through multiple revisions. But the version that I come up with before I actually sell it to someone, I'm sure it's not going to be 100% how I view it because I'm not a director. I'm not a cinematographer. I know certain things are very difficult. And I'm well aware things would have to get changed and edited out or something morphed into a different transition or whatever based on the director's vision. And I'm totally cool with that, man. I've watched Better Call Saul. I'm watching it again because I just love the directing of that. I think it's such just a beautifully filmed series. I think Better Call Saul, like it's becoming like probably my favorite fictional universe, fictional characters. I think it's just so well made, the black and white, and just the way the camera angles and the different perspectives are just really cool. When you watch a show, like I've watched Better Call Saul like at least 4 or 5 times, and every time I watch it, I just pay attention to something new now, like how they filmed this, how they directed this scene, where the cameras must have been. Like that's the stuff I kind of look at now because I've seen it. I know the story. I know like the dialogue and the writing's amazing too. The acting's great. It's just I think it's the way the storytelling through the camera angles and different approaches is what really hooks me to that show over and over again. If I can only have one show to rewatch, it would probably be that. It'd probably be Better Call Saul. But it's got everything. The characters, it's got some violence, some sex, some comedy all over the place. And just weirdness with the allergy to electricity, all that weird storyline shit. It's just a brilliant show. So yeah, I realize with anything I write, screenplay or short stories, I don't really do that much, but if I do write more short stories or essays like this, I realize that to be financially viable, there's always going to be compromises made with all kinds of art. The question is to what degree. Like it's never going to be exactly how you envision something, even though graphics, artificial intelligence, whatever you want to call it, quantum computing will develop different ways to make film that really has no boundaries, that totally there's no limitations on your imagination. And yeah, maybe that will hurt the industry to some degree. I don't know. I feel the opposite though. I feel like artificial intelligence or quantum computing, which I don't know what the hell it means. I'm just spouting these words like I think I know what I'm talking about. But I think it will create a different form of imaginative dimension, a different type of experience. Like when IMAX first started, people thought that was the most amazing thing. And now that becomes the Sphere in Las Vegas, and soon it will be some other virtual reality type of movie experience where you get to play the character. Oh, you want to watch Braveheart? But now you can actually be Mel Gibson in the movie saying all the lines. Like how cool would that be? if virtual reality can take a movie like Braveheart, like a video game almost, but the difference is you are in the movie and you get to say all the lines, like whether you have them memorized or you can just make up your own shit. You're Mel Gibson and William Wallace playing William Wallace, but now it's you like giving that speech to the Scottish army. So you could just make up whatever you want, but you're in the movie yourself painted in the war paint. Like that's probably even exists at this point because I'm out of the loop with virtual reality video games. I haven't played a video game in decades, but I do watch people play it. Like when Grand Theft Auto comes out, I'm sure I'm gonna binge watch all that shit. It's just such a good story usually. At least the last one was really good. The storyline and some of the other ones. Grand Theft Auto is like a movie, really. Like you can make a movie out of any of those plots for any of the Grand Theft Auto series. But where am I? What am I talking about? Well, creativity will go to different levels in the future. I think it's a good thing. Will it put people out of work? Maybe a little bit. Maybe some graphic designers will be obsolete at that point when a quantum computer can just put everything together. And is that just fear mongering or whatever? I don't know. I really don't know enough about this stuff. I listen to Joe Rogan podcast. I'll listen to other podcasts with people who who I think are telling the truth about stuff, and they're very knowledgeable about the future, what the future is going to look like for different industries. But I don't fucking know. I don't read books about this stuff. So let me leave it here before I talk too much more bullshit. But hopefully you get an idea of what I was going for in this month's essay. I thought it was pretty funny. I was laughing at some of them, but I don't know if people get my humor or think I'm funny or think I'm just trying too hard to be funny. I don't know. Comedy is not a big part of my personality. I would always just try to make myself look stupid. Back in the day, that was my form of comedy. Just get drunk and stupid, and hopefully people laugh at me. That was kind of my approach to comedy. I don't know if I'm that witty. I was trying to be witty in my own eccentric fashion throughout this essay, and I put it together fairly quickly. It took me about 2-3 hours to put this all together, and I think it kind of portrays these two characters, two of the greatest characters in America. Well, it's not Werner Herzog. I don't know, what was he, German? So just in cinema in general, two of the greatest characters ever, Cool Hand Luke and Stroszek. And I plan to do more of these. Maybe next month will be a similar one to this. But that's all. My next steps will probably be practicing more stuff like this as I go through some of my other albums and read maybe chapters of my book just to practice it, which I tried to do before. I think that could be a good way to develop a better speaking voice and learn breath control and develop a better physical response in my body to when I read something out loud. What kind of emphasis do I want to put on stuff to make it when it's a comedy thing like this? I wasn't sure how to read some of these. How I end the lines, I think, suffers. I don't think I end stuff properly. Whether I sing something, I don't like finish the note, or when I read something like this, I don't read it properly. So it's a work in progress. Hopefully I get better as I practice more stuff like this. But that's all. Take it easy.